by the Lions.
Hey, this is Sports Slaw with Lomas Brown, the pro.
And Deb Schneider, I'm the prof. And together, we're the pro and the prof.
Hello.
So,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm just realizing on that video, I'm clapping my hands.
I know. That's classic. Ray did a nice job with that. He really did. He did a great job with it. And, it's just me and you. That's the essence of Sports Law. It's the essence of it.
It is. That's what this is all about. It's just talking different parts of sports. Some legal, sometimes it's sports talk. Whatever happens to be happening.
Yeah,
I guess is very, very current events.
Yes, and current there. My goodness, man. It seemed like the sports gods are smiling upon the state of Michigan. I mean, with some of the stuff we've been awarded with and what we got coming in the past, I mean, that's great. I mean, and we know that. We know how people from the outside perceive the state of Michigan, how they perceive Detroit, with all the things that we've gone through, all the heartache that we've had to go through. So we don't know, the perception outside looking in might not be the best, but this is an awesome place. This is awesome to be here, and it's awesome what's happening in the sports scene for the for the state of Michigan and our professional teams around here.
Yeah, I will have to say, a few years ago, I spoke to a few sports and entertainment law societies, and people were pretty down on Michigan. I was like, look, guys, you have 4 major sports teams all in the same area. You can walk to everything. Mm-hmm. This is an incredible place to be. Not a lot of cities have that.
That's right.
Nor do the cities have the fans that we have. Mm-hmm. I hate to say it, but we're all still going to the Lions games. That's and right. We will be going to the Lions games.
You're right, too.
But the Lions are big in the news. I mean, we got some things going on with them.
Yeah, it's great. And, they announced that we're going to get Hard Knocks this year, which is, people that don't know what Hard Knocks is a show that HBO produces, and it's all behind the scenes of what goes on with a football team during training camp leading into the regular season. So I know they've been trying to get the Lions for at least the last 2 years, but our former coach, Matt Patricia, he didn't want Hard Knocks here, so he kept denying the opportunity. I'm glad that Dan Campbell accepted the opportunity to bring them here, because, again, I think people from the outside, they really don't know what kind of makes up the city of Detroit, the state of Michigan, and this gives them an opportunity to see some of the sites, some of our historical places here, some of the great eating places that we have here, some of the great resources, natural resources that we have here in the state of Michigan. So it gives us an opportunity to give the nation a peek at what it's like to live in the state of Michigan and live in a city like Detroit.
Absolutely. And so is Hard Knocks a good thing or a bad thing? Because you talked about, Matt Patricia didn't want Hard Knocks. Some people think it's great. Some people don't like it at all. I think it sounds like you're a fan of Hard Knocks.
I am. You're right, because it gives the audience a chance to see just what goes on with a football team. I think it kind of pulls back the curtains a little bit and let them see what goes on, how coaches communicate with players, just how players are in a classroom setting for the majority of the day, where you go outside for maybe 2 hours out the day, the majority of the other 6-7 hours, you're in a classroom setting learning plays. So, when people talk about the importance of having an education and that being paired with sports, it just shows you the importance of that for our young kids. that just thinks it's all about sports. Man, no, it's all about the brain. You got to be able to think if you want to be at the top of your profession in this game. So I just think the bad thing, Deb, with these coaches is sometimes that, everybody try to be top secret. So you don't want the other teams to get a glimpse or have an idea what you're doing, kind of your secret sauce to your team. And I think kind of the Hard Knocks kind of exposes that a little bit, but I do think it's good. It's great TV. It really is.
Yeah, it's fast. I mean, well, I'm a little bit of a sports nerd, as you've probably figured out.
Yeah.
But I like the behind the scenes stuff.
Yes.
I will say that, quite frankly, when I meet a professional athlete, you guys are incredible. I am like, I'm thinking, okay, no matter how smart I think I am, you guys are so good. You are so educated. You know your craft. And like you said, you don't realize how much studying actually goes into being a professional athlete.
Yes.
It's not just getting out on the field and playing. And I agree. I don't think people realize that.
Yeah. And they'll, I think from a standpoint now, I think they kind of realize how important you guys are. And when I say you guys, I'm talking about from the legal standpoint of football teams and organizations like the Lions. I mean, there's just so much responsibility. Just think about all the responsibility that's been added on to you guys when you start talking about social media, some of the responsibility that goes with that, defamation. And, even if I look deeper into it with Crosby coming out saying that he was gay, sexual preferences of players, of athletes, not players, of athletes, girls and boys, it's just so different what what's politically correct to say. I think it's made it harder for guys like you, Deb, like that has to handle the legal part of teams to make sure they're compliant with what they're doing and make sure the players are compliant, and also a lot of the personnel and the staff with teams too.
I would agree. I think right now sports, well, everybody loves sports. Everybody watches sports. And one of the things, and in fact, we were just talking about this. To me, there are two aspects of sports. One of it is what happens on the field. And quite frankly, Lomas, you know that hands down much better than I do. And I'm fond of telling my classes, a lot of times it doesn't matter to me who made, who kicked the field goal, who hit the home run. To me, again, legal nerd, right? I'm fascinated about the behind the scenes. I'm fascinated about the compliance, things like you said, the sexual, sexual harassment, sexual orientation, the compliance aspects. Do we have a defamation case? Is this an assault? I mean, sports in any real world, any play is an assault. Right? An assault and battery.
You're so
and
right.
So where are those lines drawn? Why is, for instance, Canadian law different than US law? What's happening behind the scenes? And then, of course, all the players. What I don't think people realize, though, is also these contracts and how complex the CBAs are, how complex the contracts are, the tax consequences. I could go on and on and on. But it is a very, very complex business.
Yeah, it really is. And Deb, now you throw into the fact that now some of these kids, these young millennials, now they want to be paid with cryptocurrency. So that's something that the teams are going to have to deal with that, because again, you're talking about some big name players. They want their stuff, they want their pay in currency, cryptocurrency. So that's a whole nother different realm that, teams and organizations and legal is going to have to deal with different things like that. It just seems like things are coming up more and more and more, Deb, that really requires a lot of attention. And it seems like a lot of this is happening for stuff that's off the field. Like you just said, not necessarily on the field. It's happening, this stuff that happens off the field.
That's why I love sports law. We are on the field and off the field.
Yeah.
But it's so true. And, there is so much happening in sports right now. It is like you said, these millennials and kids are coming in, and, cryptocurrency, that's one piece of it. Social media is a piece of it. Look at, and my classic example is obviously going to be NCAA name, image, likeness, right? NCAA is founded in what, 1906. From 1906 to June 30th, 2021, you couldn't be paid for your name, your image, your likeness. None of this if you wanted to retain NCAA eligibility. All of a sudden, less than a year ago, the world has changed.
Yes.
And, you can look at any of these things. You can look at how quickly social media is, I mean, my goodness, I'm thinking TikTok is it right now, but, Instagram may be old and nobody does Facebook anymore, right? But how quickly that has changed.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, even it's great that you're saying that. Let's throw in sports gambling now. You know what that's done, the sports betting part being legalized in states. Now that's brought a whole nother wrinkle into this thing. You talk about now again, how do you punish players, Deb? Now the NFL is dealing with Vegas and gambling. Gambling is legal. Now you tell a player that he can't gamble. Where does the line? Where's the line drawn at with that, Deb? I mean, as we talked about with the receiver from Atlanta, over a $1,500 bet that he bet for his team to win on his team, not against his team. Now, right now, Calvin Ridley, he's suspended for a year. So where's the line drawn at, Deb?
And again, that's one of those things when we talk about sports, and the stuff that's exciting is that gambling has been taboo in sports since, the Black Sox scandal of 1919, right? I'm always going back to the history. So we haven't been able to gamble. And all of a sudden we have this Murphy case, and now it's okay to gamble, and all the states are jumping on. So you've got the federal government saying, we can do this. Every state is jumping on, because up until that point, it was only those states that actually had gambling when this PAPSA was passed. That was like 1992. And, most of them didn't. And now everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. So, and then Florida was legal, and then Florida wasn't legal. And, it's a real checkerboard of laws and what you can and can't do from a state legislature perspective. But it's also interesting as far as to what you're alluding to is who can bet. Who's got that inside information?
Deb. Exactly. You're exactly right about that. And I think I told you before how they kind of can penetrate, talking to players about, small injuries, little things,
right?
When does the team take off the leave if it's a away game? So when do you guys land? All that little things like that. They want to know stuff like that because they want to know if they're trying to project if the team's going to be tired. If it's a West Coast, or East Coast game, just all the things like that. Those are the things that help these gamblers, that help them kind of give them an edge so they can go out and try to, beat the system, try to win what they're trying to do. So it's just so much that goes into this, that it's amazing to me that how the NFL is flipped. And maybe they've been thinking about it for a long time there, but it sure seemed like that switch got flipped real fast from the NFL, from gambling being taboo to now it's being accepted. And pretty soon, I'm quite sure they'll be wearing logos of different casinos on their jersey, because I heard that's one of the things that they're allowed to do now.
Yes, absolutely. Casinos are actually advertising, and I believe Major League Baseball is going to having a patch, allowing a patch. Now, I don't know if they're going to allow a patch for it, because baseball seems to be the big one with betting, because we have the Black Sox scandals. We have Pete Rose, who's still banned from the Hall of Fame and banned from You know,
That's
that,
crazy.
yeah,
It's
it is.
crazy. It really is, Deb.
It is always bet on his team to win. And now we've got,
Mhm.
Calvin Ridley in the NFL.
Mhm.
We've had basketball scandals. We had the Molina
Mhm.
scandal. These things have happened over and over and over. And now it's legal, but what's legal? And I don't think there's been a real good line that's been drawn as far as what's legal.
I agree. I agree with you 100% there. And normally the NFL, they're pretty good about doing that because I told you once before, we get that security talk every year in training camp where they bring
Mhm.
NFL security down to talk to every team individually. And they go through every scenario. They go through all the scenarios, including gambling when it wasn't even legal. I'm sorry, when before it got legalized, they were going through it now. So they even go through it with the marijuana now. When you go to states, if you live in a state where marijuana isn't legal and you go to a state, they tell you about what you can and can't do. It's just so many things that they cover, the NFL security trying to cover themselves and everything. But like you said, with this, it's kind of blurred there. The lines are kind of
It's
blurred.
it's definitely blurred. I look at you in your position. You've got a lot of information. You are not a player.
Mm-hmm.
You're also not a gambler, as far as I know.
Right.
But where does that go down the line?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can see, okay, you're a player. Yeah, don't bet on your team. But why can't you as a player bet someplace else?
That's right. I agree.
And remember, Willie Mays was banned. I think he had a problem because he worked as a doorman in a casino.
Absolutely right, Deb.
It's just, again, that switch is flipping so quickly.
Yes.
I don't know how we're keeping our heads on straight sometimes.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I agree 100% with you. They printing money right now, man. The NFL is printing money like the government right now, Deb. It's just endless, man, the type of money that these owners are making. And, again, and Deb, this is another thing, because it's kind of leading into something. It's just, with me, when things are going so good, when things are going just so well, but you have an opportunity for things to even go better with your league, to go better with your sport. And I'm talking about the owners, and I'm specifically talking about Colin Kaepernick trying to get back in the league. Of course,
Yeah.
he threw this weekend. Jim Harbaugh let him throw this weekend on campus, which I thought was very nice of coach to do that. Gave him an opportunity to show his arm off, to show scouts, to show whoever was there that he's still able to play in this league and can pretty much still play at a pretty high level if he's given the opportunity. To me, it seems like with the owners making the money that they're making, now they've gone to 17 games, the popularity of the sports is here. Seem like they would be willing to fall on their sword a little bit and bring this guy back in the league. Show people that the NFL is for forgiveness, that they can forgive, that they can move on, that they're bigger, that they're going to give people opportunities. And for them to just keep denying him an opportunity where all 32 owners have colluded against this man, where he can't get back in the league, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy, and it's a travesty that he's still not on a roster with some of the quarterbacks that have played in the league over the last 4, 5, 6 years.
Well, you have strong opinions on that. And as you know, Lomas, so do I.
Yes.
I'm a huge Kaepernick fan. I think this was a brilliant move by Harbaugh because wherever Kaepernick goes, people watch.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Harbaugh is one of the top marketers, whether you like him or you hate him as a coach.
Yes.
I guess it depends on if you're a Michigan or Michigan State fan, but that's another story. But whether you like him or hate him as a coach, he's a brilliant marketer, and bringing Colin Kaepernick to the team was a brilliant marketing ploy. And I told you years ago, I thought that the Lions could use Kaepernick because people will come to see him.
Mm-hmm.
And going to your owners and making money, and the fact this is a business, I think that would be a brilliant move. Now we'll see who's actually listening to Sports Law and listening to me.
Thank you, Deb. You're right about that.
But this guy, and I don't think there's I'm going to go a little further. I don't think there's an element of forgiveness. He was drawing attention to police brutality. He just did it before anybody else did.
Yes. Great point.
There's no reason that anybody needs to be talking about forgiveness for this.
That's just such a great point. It really is. And Deb, and the league has moved to his style of quarterback. The quarterback that's mobile, that can do both. You can sit in the pocket, but you could get out of there if you get in problem. He's the perfect prototype of what the NFL has moved to. And you telling me he can't get a job in the NFL? Are you kidding me? That's what I'm saying, man. Until they move, a coach used to always tell us you have to study your past to prevent from making some of the mistakes that you made. You got to study your past. So
and we're back in the classroom.
Thank you, Deb. Oh my God. I mean, come on now. I mean, what? I mean, when are they going to turn the page on this? When is this going to be? Because believe me, when you go through the chronicles of the NFL from the 100+ years of the NFL, believe me, that's got its own section in there. It's got to have its own section in there because of how this thing was. This was it was just such a fire starter with everything. My battery is running out. I thought I plugged in. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dale. But while I get to my cord. I know Ray was going to say something. He looked like he wanted to chime in on that.
Oh yeah. Hey, we're still going. We're still going. But you're exactly right. We've got to recognize that sports is moving. Sports is moving. They're moving rapidly. We've already talked now about drugs. We've talked about gambling. We're gonna get into the whole Deshaun Watson. So we're gonna get drugs, gambling, and sex all on one podcast. That's pretty incredible.
I think Lomas's battery just died.
I think it did too. I think it did.
Well, let's bring in Hunter to talk about the. Hunter, come on in.
Hey, Deb, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Hunter?
I'm doing well. I wanted to get your perspective on the Deshaun Watson rulings, that the two grand jury rulings, and him facing some more potential, whether it be legal battles or suspensions from the NFL. I just wanted to hear your perspective on that and everything, the controversy that's surrounding him.
Oh my gosh, there's really a lot surrounding Deshaun Watson, and part of it is how they prosecuted and why they prosecuted, because why this actually went to a grand jury, and then the prosecutor taking it beyond that after there really wasn't. I mean, what is it? 22 therapists are saying, hey, this is a problem. 18 are saying, no, it's not. And then he's picked up by, picked up by Cleveland, right?
Yeah, Cleveland. And they gave him $230 million. They gave him this massive guaranteed contract. And it's
right.
Still completely up in the air whether he's going to be facing any legal troubles, let alone, what the NFL might give him. And the suspension that could be levied against him.
Right. And keep in mind that the NFL isn't a criminal tribunal. So the NFL and Roger Goodell can and have in the past given out punishments in situations where there has been no legal proof, no criminal action.
I'm especially interested to see what they do if there is a massive civil suit or if there's a massive development in the civil aspect of these trials, because like you said, the NFL is not a criminal tribunal. So if he's, you know, shelling out a ton of money in these civil trials, I'm curious to see what kind of ruling and how that might affect Goodell's decision.
Right. And it really is Goodell's decision on this, you know, the powers of the commissioner. And the one thing that I think Roger Goodell's got to be very concerned about is consistency. We've seen this over and over with domestic issues. We've seen this with sexual assault. We've seen this with the various players. And yes, there are a lot of players, and there's a lot of different. Oh, Lomas is back.
I'm on my phone right now. I don't know. It just went out. As soon as I plugged it in, it went out. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that I had one of those today too.
Man, it's just unbelievable.
But we're talking about the Deshaun Watson situation, and you know, the fact that there are so many different allegations out there. Roger Goodell has got to maintain some element of consistency. He can't treat Watson different than he treated, you know, Ezekiel Elliott or, you know, Michael Vick. And how do you handle all that? Lomas, what do you think about the consistency of punishment? Again, we're not talking criminal, we're not talking civil. Those are two separate systems compared to the NFL commissioners and what happens with the NFL punishment.
Yeah, I just think, Deb, now they made a big mistake when remember I told your class that once. When they gave Roger, he was the judge, jury, and executioner. They gave him all the power.
They did.
And they negotiated that. That was negotiated in the CBA. So since then, they realized the mistake that they made, that you can't have one person wielding that much power. And, you know, so since then, and I think, you know, I know they can't change it in the CBA because that's going on for another, they got another 7 years. Yeah,
10 years.
Yeah, 10. Oh, that's crazy. So
that's a whole other podcast.
Yes, they can't change anything. So I know they went to Commissioner Goodell and talked to him about some of his policies and how he was levying fines and punishment to players. And I think that got them to loosen up a little bit. But really, Deb, it's no rhyme or reason. It was whatever he wanted to do, or what he felt was necessary. He was the guy that made, like I say, he was the judge, jury, and the executioner.
And the only, you know, and I think that's a really important point, is you have these CBAs, and the CBAs have been negotiated between the union, the players' union, and the management, or, you know, the sanctioning body, the NFL, NBA, you know, NHL. And each one's slightly different, but they give the commissioner certain powers. Then when something happens, what we do is we bring a lawsuit. The whole Deflategate is a classic example of bringing a lawsuit. What was it about? And from my perspective as a lawyer, as a sports lawyer, I'm saying that was really about controlling and setting the limits on the powers of the commissioner. It didn't necessarily have a lot to do with Tom Brady. It did, but it didn't. It was like, how far can we let him go? So it wasn't necessarily a personal thing. It was more, where are the powers? What did the CBA really mean?
Yeah. Well, I know, again, a lot of, and Deb, it goes back to who votes on the CBA. Like I told Hunter, you got 64 guys speaking for 1,800 guys. And to me, that's just, you know, we need a better system. You know, and I say we, the NFL, they are our union. They need a better system because, again, I don't think it's fair for 64 guys to speak for 1,800 guys, 1,800 guys. It's just not fair for that to happen that way. But yet and still, that's how we've operated. And when I say we, again, that's how the NFL has operated. The NFLPA, that's how they have operated for all the years, at least since when I was in the league. And so, again, I just think the system, the way we go about it, I just think it's flawed right now. And I think that's what aids the owners in beating us, because it seems like every time we're in a negotiation, a CBA or some type of labor negotiation with the owners, at least from our standpoint, they get the best of us football players. They always have. Hopefully, they always won't continue to do that, but they have in the past.
Absolutely. But, and I think another piece of the CBA is all the active players get a chance to vote on it. It's negotiated.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the active players get a chance to vote on it.
Right.
But you didn't vote on the CBA.
Exactly, Deb. Exactly. Go ahead. But
I'm saying, but that's after it's been negotiated, either yay or nay. And that's pretty standard union. But then the other piece of this that I think is really interesting is, for instance, you're covered in some ways by what's happened in the CBA from as a retired player.
Yeah. Yes.
And you didn't vote on it, did you?
No, we didn't. You're right. You don't get that opportunity. And then also, Deb, when something needs to be negotiated on, we're always the first ones to go. If they have to get rid of something or do something to make the negotiations keep moving along, the retired players, anything that we got on the table, that's the first thing snatched off the table, because
you're easy and you have no vote.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
But and that's I'm going to turn it a little bit now to baseball, because we just saw the lockout in baseball just ended. We've got opening day coming up finally. Although I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly. But you have this a very similar sort of situation in baseball with a little bit of a twist, because baseball is exempt from antitrust. And the twist on that is, and it's happened before in the NFL, if you don't like the way labor negotiations are going, you can potentially decertify.
Yeah.
And then everybody's on their own, and you have antitrust claims because you can't have antitrust and labor law. And again, that's a whole sports law, class, but you either have one or the other. Baseball being exempt from antitrust, they don't have that option. So their labor negotiations are a little bit different because of that.
If they had been locked out even longer, I know they could have faced the potential of going to court if it went even further. And I know that's something the players really wanted to avoid.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're exempt from antitrust, so they're not going to win that kind of case. Where actually, again, Tom Brady in 2011 he was the named plaintiff when the NFLPA decertified. So it's a tool that they have that baseball, as of right now, does not have because of a 1922 case, and I can get into all that too. But it makes for the negotiations being a little bit different.
Yeah, it's definitely different. You ask, I think any retired football player, we all say, man, we think baseball had the best union. Hands down, we thought they had the best union, and of course, we all thought we had the worst union. So, and of course, we got a lot more players that we have to deal with in the other sports, but still, and it seemed like, I guess, with liabilities and different things like that, it makes it a little harder with our sports than the other sports. But man, it sure seems like we've been getting the short end of the stick for a long time.
Which is just fascinating. You play fewer games, and yet probably in terms of broadcast, and that you have the best contract, hands down. You've got 32 owners. You've got these owners. They have been able to really turn football, American football, because it's not, and it's truly an American sport, into the biggest thing. We talk about baseball being America's pastime, but in a lot of ways, football is America's pastime.
Yes.
So they've turned this into this really big thing. So why haven't the players been able to really make more of it?
Yeah, Deb, I keep coming back to, because again, the other sports leagues, those guys have guaranteed contracts and they can
Yes.
fortify themselves. Whereas us here, we don't have guaranteed contracts. So you get guys that get fractured. You got guys that haven't made as much as some guys, or not financially set up at this particular time in their career where they can hold out or do different things like that. So it's just amazing, all the different things. The biggest difference, I think, to me, is just because these guys have more power because their money is guaranteed, and the owners can't do much about that once they sign these contracts.
Right. But so let's get some guaranteed contracts.
I know.
But then
yes.
the next piece of that puzzle is the fact that the NFL career is the shortest of all the major league careers.
Yes.
I mean, your game, while you play fewer games, is still more physically dangerous. I'm not going to say demanding, because any professional sport is very demanding, but it's physically dangerous. We just, in terms of, CTE is the big example that's out there.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, one play, your career could be over with. One play.
Absolutely. And it's happened.
Yes.
It's happened, and it's, I don't know. I mean, that's a whole other thing.
One final thing on Deshaun Watson here that I wanted to mention before we moved on from that topic was the judge that is as you were saying, Deb, the 18 women that came to defend him. The judge is now making him answer questions about his, like, whether he had sexual relations with any of those 18 women. And now that he's being forced to answer that honestly, if it does come out that he did with one of the 18 women who defend him, the judge can pretty clearly start to think about some of those interactions he might have had with the other 22 women, and if he is, seeking out sex in these encounters, it's going to look really poorly.
Yeah, and Hunter, the other thing to me too is funny how, I mean, he must feel that he's innocent. I mean, because he's fighting this. If you think about that, I mean, think about it. They declined to bring criminal charges against him about this. So now I know a lot of this is civil, but if you think about it, he could settle a lot of this out of court and be done with this. But he said that he wants to fight this. He wants to clear his name. So it's interesting that, not only is he going to another team, another system, another city, another scheme, but yet and still now he has to still defend himself in the court of law, or at least a civil court of law, as to why these allegations are false against him. But he vehemently said that he is going to fight these things.
And I will chime in here that really takes, pun intended, your eye off the ball, because he's dealing with the criminal aspect where they didn't bring criminal charges. He's dealing with the civil aspect. He's dealing with these 22 potential lawsuits. He's also dealing with the commissioner and the NFL and what's going to happen there, and potentially team discipline. And he's supposed to be at the peak. He's our guy.
Yes.
That's got to affect you mentally.
Yes. Now, that was a great thing what Cleveland did for him in terms of his salary, where he's going to make the least of his salary this year. And they did that just in case he has to miss games or, anything happen, they'll be taking the least away from him. So, again, and Deb, it's no comparison, but it's just little things that teams do to show players that they want them. and everything. And that I thought that was a great gesture on the part of the Cleveland to show him that, hey, you're our guy. We're supporting you. We're behind you and everything by them doing that with his salary. I think he only makes $1 million this year. So if he ends up missing a whole bunch of games this year, and Hunter, you only get paid when you play in the NFL.
Right.
So you miss a game, you miss a check. So I guess they're trying to make it as painfully as
painless.
Thank you. As painless as they can on him this year. Which again, I thought that was a great thing for Cleveland to do.
I'm curious. Okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say to anybody, he's only making $1 million this year.
I know, Deb. I know. That's a good one, Deb. That's a good one. That's a good.
Hey, you said it. I didn't.
You're right. You're right. You are so right about that.
Yeah. Okay. Hunter, you had a question. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
I was just gonna say, I feel like they maybe might have done that and kept Baker with the thought that he's missing some games this year.
Yeah.
They might know some things that we don't.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing here. But
that's a good. You know what, Hunter? I like that little conspiracy theory coming out you. I like it. We got a little conspiracist with us there.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
Yes, I like that. Good. I mean, and Baker hadn't found a home yet. They haven't found anywhere to trade him to right now. So, I mean, and you got to have a good backup in this league, man, because you never know. You can never count on injury. So,
I'm calling out Kaepernick. I'm calling out Kaepernick.
Man, oh my God! I wish they would bring him here. I wish they would.
I'd love to see him in Detroit.
I wish they would. Yeah.
But I think, and I know we're running out of time, so I want to just wrap it up with one more thing. And one of the things that all of these guys have in common is name recognition. That name recognition is going to bring in the fans, and that's important, right? Whether it's good or bad or whatever, name recognition brings in the fans. It's a great marketing tool. So big name recognition, Tiger Woods playing.
It sounds like every indication is that he's going to be teeing off on Thursday.
Yes.
Wow. Yes. I mean, what a comeback. That guy's amazing.
He really is, man. I mean, the guy talked about how he was bedridden, how he couldn't do anything, to now he's going to attempt to walk all these holes at Augusta. I mean, this is just unbelievable, man. If he pulls this off, it's unbelievable what he's doing, man. He's something else, man. He really is. He moves the needle there, because I'm telling you, I don't watch golf. I don't watch it on TV unless Tiger's involved. That's the only way I watch it. And now I'm looking forward to watching the Masters, because he is involved. I mean, he is the guy. He moves that sport. He's been moving it since he's gotten into the professional golf league and stuff. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to see how he finishes and how he handles himself out there this weekend.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's been amazing ever since he came onto the scene. For the longest time, nobody thought he could be beat. And, he's come back. He's come back from surgery. He's come back from back problems. He's come back. Now he's coming back again.
Yeah, man. Came back from scandal. I mean, think about that, Dale, having the whole world, just following you around, just trying to dig into your life. All these investigative reporters just trying to, and you got to keep yourself focused enough on that golf course for 4 days so you can win a major title. I mean, and these are individual sports. It's not like it's a team sport where you could count on the teammate or count on somebody to help pull you through. This is individual sports, man. So it's just the mental fortitude that this guy has. It just has to be incredible, man. It just has to be incredible.
Well, I think that really goes to everything. These guys, all those outside distractions, and which gets right back to where we started.
You're
with
right.
this. So any final thoughts, guys, on this? I know it's been a great conversation. We kind of hit a lot of, on field, off field. We had sex, we had drugs, we had
Yeah.
gambling. Doesn't
Well,
get better than that, does it?
Hunter, I'm looking so forward to the sports scene this year. I know we're gonna show improvement with our teams. I know we're gonna show improvements. I don't know how much improvement we're gonna show. I see towards the end the Pistons, they're starting to pick their game up a little bit. They Cade McCann, he's been looking good and everything. I think Iserman, he's getting those Red Wings. He's making some nice moves with the Red Wings, trying to get them back. And of course, we talked about the Tigers a little earlier and the Lions. They got the draft coming up in a few weeks. So, hopefully with these moves, hopefully, man, this will help our sports scene get back to where it was, because it was awesome.
Absolutely. All I'm going to say is after this Lions upcoming draft and after this Pistons upcoming draft, Detroit is going to have the most young talent over all four sports that I think we've ever had. Between just to name a few, you have Riley Green, Casey Mize, Spencer Torkelson, Penei Sewell, Cade Cunningham, Mo Sider.
Keep going. Come on.
Mo Sider, Khalif Raymond, Tariq Skubal.
Yes,
I'm just thrilled about everyone. Then let alone who the Lions are going to take it to here, what the Pistons end up doing with this pick.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled for the future.
And Hunter, don't forget collegiately too. I mean, Michigan coming, when they get back to it, the year they coming off of it, the incredible job that Mel Tucker is doing in East Lansing. I mean, think about it, man. The sports could be very, very good around here for us for a long time.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think we're all excited. So let's wrap it up. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lomas. Thank you, Hunter. Great discussion tonight. So thank you to our listeners. Check us out. Check us out on Sports Laws. Check us out on Spotify. Check us out on YouTube. And thanks for listening, everybody.